They laughed when Earth stayed silent. They mocked when our fleets vanished. But when the Obsidian gate cracked open, the galaxy learned a lesson. Some sleepers wake hungry. 15 seconds. That was how long the alarm screamed before the silence. And in that silence, the universe tilted. The Obsidian Gate, an ancient structure older than recorded alien history, shuddered in the cold dark of space. For millennia, it had been nothing more than a galactic tourist attraction, a black ring of impossible metal hovering above a dead star. Pilgrims visited, historians speculated, and warlords ignored it. It was inert, a relic. Until tonight. The first fracture appeared like a hairline crack on glass, glowing faintly blue against its obsidian surface. Alien ships in orbit blinked warning lights across the void. One by one, scanners failed, sensors shorted, and commanders cursed their technicians. Then the gate pulsed, one massive heartbeat, and every vessel nearby went silent as their systems dimmed. The galaxy had no memory of this. But Earth did. Inside the command bridge of the alien cruiser Valor's Pride, Captain Jern leaned forward, all four of his scaled hands gripping the console. His ridged brows furrowed. "Report!" he barked in his guttural dialect. "Unknown energy surge," replied his sensor officer, mandibles clicking nervously. "Gate is destabilizing. Power readings." "I don't have a scale for this," Jern hissed. "Nothing has come through that gate in 100,000 cycles. It's a relic, nothing more." Another pulse rippled out, shaking hulls, rattling crews. Across the fleet, panic spread in whispers. And then, as if scripted by some ancient playwright, a single ship slipped through the widening crack. It was sleek, angular, and terrifyingly simple. No alien sigils, no flamboyant gilding like the fleets of the high empires. Just matte black hull plating, glowing with a faint blue undercurrent, as though it breathed with the void itself. Its insignia was faded but clear, an Earth crest. On board that ship, a human sat quietly at a console, sipping lukewarm coffee. Commander Elias Mercer wasn't what most aliens expected when they imagined a human warlord. He looked too ordinary, mid-30s, clean uniform, hair that couldn't decide whether it wanted to behave. The kind of man you'd mistake for a math teacher, not someone steering a relic of nightmares. "Status?" he asked casually, glancing at the blinking panels around him. "Fleet awakening protocols engaged." His ship AI replied in a voice smoother than velvet. "Systems green. Additional units mobilizing through the gate in 3 minutes." Elias smiled faintly. "Good. Wouldn't want to wake up the neighbors without a proper welcome." Out in the void, the alien fleet scrambled to reposition. The Valor's Pride broadcasted demands in 6 languages at once. "Identify yourself. This zone is restricted by order of the Triarch Council. Power down your weapons or be fired upon." Elias flicked a switch, opening comms. His voice carried the calm politeness of a diplomat, but there was an edge buried in it, the kind of softness that felt more threatening than a shout. "This is Commander Mercer of the Terran Defense Navy. I wasn't aware we required alien permission to access our own front door." The bridge of Valor's Pride erupted in confusion. "Terran? Humans?" Jern spat the words like they tasted foul. "Impossible. Your species is extinct. History recorded your fall 2,000 cycles ago." Elias sipped his coffee. "History has a habit of getting things wrong. Tell me, Captain, do you normally blockade the home of extinct species, or is this a special arrangement?" Jern's claws flexed against the console. He hated how calm the humans sounded. There was no trembling, no fear. Just polite amusement, like a man commenting on the weather. The crack in the gate widened. Another ship slipped through. Then another. Sleek human warships, silent as sharks, forming into disciplined formations. Blue thrusters glowed faintly against the black backdrop. Their hulls bore the scars of centuries but moved with precision, as if they'd been waiting for this moment. The alien crews whispered in disbelief. "That can't be real. They're myths. Ghost ships. No fleet hides for millennia and comes back stronger." But they did. Jern tried to regain control of his bridge. All ships, prepare targeting solutions. If this Terran is bluffing, we'll vaporize him and his relics before more appear. Before his orders could execute, Elias' voice returned across the comms. Calm. Cheerful. Infuriating. Captain, I'd advise against that. Our weapons are active, our shields layered. If you fire, you'll discover very quickly that your fleet is not large enough, nor fast enough, to survive the experience. It wasn't a shout. It wasn't a threat barked by a warlord. It was almost conversational, like a man explaining that the coffee machine was broken. And yet the weight of it sank into every alien's spine. Do you dare threaten the Council? Jern hissed. Elias chuckled softly. Threaten? No, Captain. I'm simply being courteous. If humanity wanted you dead, you'd already be debris. The Valor's Pride's officers shifted uncomfortably. The humans' tone was too confident. And the ships, they were multiplying. Every minute, more vessels emerged through the gate, their blue lights cutting across the darkness like predatory eyes. A younger alien officer whispered, "What if he's not bluffing?" Jern bared his teeth but didn't answer. Meanwhile, inside Mercer's ship, the AI whispered updates. 38 ships have crossed. 2 carriers inbound. Dormant fleets 4 and 5 are responding to the crack in the gate. Estimated full activation 4 hours. Elias leaned back in his chair, smiling at nothing in particular. 4 hours, and the galaxy won't know what hit it. Timing is everything. The AI hummed. Would you like me to transmit the prepared message to the Council? Not yet. Let them stew. Elias tapped his mug. Fear ferments better with silence. As the first hour passed, alien ships surrounded the gate like vultures around a carcass. But they didn't fire. They couldn't. Not with the memory of that human's calm voice replaying in their minds. The humans weren't posturing. They weren't begging for recognition. They were certain. And certainty is terrifying. By the second hour, the whispers had spread beyond the fleet. Messages raced across the galactic networks. Humans had returned. Fleets were rising. The Obsidian Gate had cracked. Panic blossomed in capital worlds. Skeptics mocked the idea, until transmissions leaked of black Terran warships gliding through the void. And through it all, Commander Elias Mercer sat with a half-empty mug, watching his forgotten armada stretch its limbs. When the AI finally spoke again, its voice carried a subtle eagerness. Commander, enemy fleet strength currently numbers 136 vessels. Shall we engage? Elias set the mug down gently, eyes glinting with dangerous amusement. No. Not yet. Let them gather. The galaxy should witness the storm in its entirety. He leaned back, smiling faintly. After all, we've been asleep for far too long. The council chamber of the Valari Galactic Assembly shimmered with crystalline walls, light refracting in kaleidoscopic patterns that usually impressed visiting diplomats. Today, the atmosphere was far from ceremonial. A new guest had arrived, humanity's first, official, representative in over 2 centuries, and he had walked in with the confidence of someone stepping into a neighborhood barbecue rather than the most powerful chamber in the galaxy. Commander Elias Mercer adjusted his jacket, charcoal black, pressed, distinctly unfashionable by galactic standards. He smiled warmly as if greeting distant cousins instead of species that had once signed treaties to erase humanity from history. His voice was smooth, easy, and deliberate. Thank you for hosting me, he said, bowing slightly. It's not every day the black sheep of the galaxy gets invited back to the family dinner table. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The Valari chair, a towering avian-like being with jeweled feathers, shifted uncomfortably. Beside him, the scaled and stoic Zardan Warprince narrowed his golden eyes. Across the chamber, the jelly-like Tholeni rippled in agitation, glowing patterns racing across their bodies. Elias took his seat, without asking permission. Human, the Valari chair began, voice sharp. You stand here only because the Obsidian Gate cracked on the edge of your world. It threatens every system. The assembly requires information. Your people are rumored to have old ties to it. Elias folded his hands neatly on the table, his smile never faltering. Rumors? We prefer the word family secrets. And you're right, the gate is, well, let's call it a relative we don't invite to Thanksgiving. When it wakes up, things get complicated. The chamber buzzed louder. You admit knowledge, the Zardan war prince rumbled. Then you will share it. Immediately. Elias tilted his head. Of course. But before I do, I'd like to ask a favor in return. See, humans are funny. We like to trade stories. You want to know about the gate? Fine. But I'd like to know what the Assembly has been telling itself about us these past few centuries. What bedtime stories keep your children scared of the dark? The request landed like a grenade. Aliens shifted, hissed, clicked, and whispered. The Valari chair clicked his beak in irritation. This is no time for games. Elias leaned forward, voice dropping to a near whisper, low, calm, and far too controlled. On the contrary, games are exactly what this is. You mistake survival for seriousness. Humans, we play until everyone else folds. The words sent a shiver across the room. The Doleni pulsed dimmer, as though shrinking. Alien reactions. The first to speak was a Koresh scholar, an insectoid creature with antennae twitching nervously. It is said, the humans once raised an armada capable of sundering stars. That you tampered with ancient gates. That we what? Elias interrupted, his tone polite, curious, almost playful. Ate the galaxy for breakfast? Drank black holes like coffee? He chuckled softly. We're flattered. Exaggeration suits us. The Zardan slammed a clawed fist against the table. You dare mock us? Elias's eyes flicked to him, still smiling, but sharper now. Not mocking. Testing. You see, when someone tells a scary story about you, it helps to know how much they still believe it. The chamber went silent. The smile never left his face, but suddenly the temperature seemed to drop. The hook tightens. Elias leaned back casually. Since you've indulged me, let me indulge you. Yes, the Obsidian gate is tied to us. Long ago, humanity locked something away behind it, something old, something hungry. We buried it and swore never to wake it. When the gate cracked, we didn't panic. He tapped the table lightly. We prepared. The Valari chair's feathers bristled. Prepared? With what resources? Your world has been diminished. You are not the power you once were. Elias gave a small, almost pitying smile. That's the thing about us. We like being underestimated. Makes the punchline land better. Behind the mask. The Doleni diplomat finally pulsed out words in trembling light. Why smile? Why act as though this is amusing? The gate could unmake entire civilizations. Elias met its glowing patterns with calm eyes. Because panic is useless, and fear tastes like weakness. Humans learned long ago, if you're at the poker table with monsters, you'd better laugh like you're holding all the aces. He clasped his hands, tone dropping darker. And sometimes, we are. The chamber felt it then, the shift. The humor was still there, but it was laced with steel. The alien delegates saw not a quaint survivor species but something older, colder, and far more deliberate. The bait. Elias reached into his pocket and set a small black cube on the table. Its surface rippled faintly like liquid obsidian. The room reacted instantly. Half the aliens rose in shock, others drew weapons, guards rushing forward. Elias merely raised a hand. Relax. It's a key. Not the key. Think of it as a keepsake. A reminder of why the gate was sealed. The Valari chair hissed. You bring such a thing here? Blasphemy. Elias shrugged. Blasphemy? Maybe. Insurance? Definitely. You wanted truth, here it is. Humanity doesn't fear the gate. We built the lock. And we kept the spares. The silence that followed was suffocating. The polite threat. Then Elias leaned in, his voice velvet smooth, words rolling out like a practice blade. I'll tell you what happens next. The gate cracked. Something inside is stirring. The assembly wants to rush fleets, fire weapons, throw everything at it. That's adorable. But wrong. You'll only wake it faster. Which leaves you with one option. The Zardan growled, low and furious. And what is that? Elias's smile widened, though his eyes stayed dead cold. You let us handle it. Alien dissonance. The chamber erupted. Impossible! Cried the Koresh scholar. Humans cannot be trusted, shouted the Valari chair. They'll unleash it for power, hissed another delegate. Through it all, Elias sat calm, almost amused, until the noise died down. He spoke softly, the way a teacher might correct children. You think we'd risk our own extinction for power? That's cute. If we wanted dominion, we'd have taken it centuries ago. Instead, we chose silence. We let you forget us. Now the gate threatens everyone, and you're all scrambling like headless chickens. He tapped the cube again. But we never forgot. Closing the noose. At last, the Valari chair fixed him with a sharp glare. And if we refuse? If we deny you this authority? Elias's grin was almost cheerful. Then you'll learn the hard way what humans do when cornered. The chamber fell into heavy, fearful silence. Somewhere deep in the crystalline walls, light fractured into the shape of a blade. The moment the first hum reverberated through the Galactic Council chamber, the aliens stiffened. It wasn't loud, but it was old. Too old. A sound of machinery that should have rusted to dust long before their species crawled from oceans. Ambassador Holt remained seated, folding his hands like a man enjoying a symphony. His expression was politely neutral, almost bored, as though the world-breaking hum was nothing more than the air conditioner kicking on. Do you hear that? Hissed Magistrate Threx, mandibles clacking as his violet eyes darted. The gate. It stirs. Obsidian gates don't stir, muttered Counselor Vera of the Feliari, though her fur bristled. They are relics. Fossils. Carcasses of forgotten wars. Holt tilted his head, smiling faintly. Ah, but you know what they say on Earth. Fossils? They bite hardest when someone digs them up. The chamber fell into silence. It wasn't the words that struck them, but the calm way Holt had delivered them, like a man commenting on the weather. And then the gate cracked. The hollow screens lit in warning tones as fissures of blue light shot across the colossal structure drifting outside the capital's orbit. The Obsidian Gate, an ancient, dead artifact, was moving, opening like the jaws of a predator that had waited eons for its prey. By the core, whispered Vera. What is that? The gate expanded, spilling light into space. Something moved within. Not chaos, not collapsing stone, ships. Rows upon rows of sleek, angular hulls emerging with terrifying precision, thrusters burning blue against the dark. One ship could have been dismissed as curiosity. 10 as relics. Hundreds as a fleet. Thousands meant planning. The council chamber erupted in shrill chaos. This is impossible. They cannot function after millennia. Who commands them? The answer stood right there, sipping water from a glass as if bored. Holt placed the cup down carefully, his movements slow, deliberate. Gentle beings, please, he said with a raised hand, polite as ever. You'll strain your vocal cords. The sudden sharpness of his voice quieted them. The humans had a talent for tone, not forceful, not loud, but something that implied command. General Rasker of the Creo finally growled, his scaled fist tightening. Ambassador Holt. Explain. Now. Holt rose, buttoning his jacket with measured ease. Of course. Since you ask so kindly. He walked to the center of the chamber, letting the gate's live feed illuminate him from every angle. Behind him, the black void of space was alive with movement, Earth's sleeping armada. Ships the size of cities, cruisers bristling with weaponry, squadrons forming impossible geometric precision, as though they'd been waiting for a single signal. Holt clasped his hands behind his back. You see, Earth has a talent. We tend to prepare for disasters. Hurricanes, earthquakes, the occasional rogue asteroid. His eyes glinted. Or galactic councils with too many teeth and too much arrogance. Vera hissed. You hid this? From us? From the entire galaxy? Not hiding, Holt corrected smoothly. Merely letting it nap. We call it the Armada. Others once called it humanity's extinction insurance. Threx slammed his claws onto the table. This is an act of war. Holt arched a brow, tilting his head with practiced amusement. An act of war? My dear magistrate, the fleet hasn't fired a single shot. It simply stretched its legs. Like old men at a barbecue when the beer cooler opens. The analogy sailed past most species, though a few caught the tone. A handful of younger delegates stared at him with wide, dawning horror. On the feed, the Armada organized itself into a crescent formation, a posture that wasn't defensive, but wasn't hostile either. It was watching. Waiting. Counselor Vera's voice cracked despite her efforts at calm. Who commands them? Holt's eyes softened. That was the most dangerous thing about him. He always seemed kind when he dealt the killing blow. They wake when the gate cracks, Holt said simply. They answer to Earth. The silence that followed wasn't peaceful. It was suffocating, the way air feels just before a storm tears a city apart. Raska bared his teeth. If you unleash this fleet, you destabilize the galaxy itself. Holt gave a small shrug. Destabilize? Perhaps. Or balance. He let the word hang. A single syllable that rolled heavier than an asteroid strike. The chamber erupted again, but beneath the shouting one fact sank like a dagger into every alien heart. Humans hadn't stumbled onto galactic politics blind. They had prepared. They had waited. And they had brought their nightmares with them. Hours later, chaos reigned across the capital. Fleets scrambled to defensive positions. Civilian sectors rioted. Rumors spread faster than plasma fire, that Earth had hidden its true strength, that the Obsidian Gate was a trap, that the human envoy was not a diplomat at all but a warlord in disguise. Inside the human embassy, Holt finally loosened his tie. Well, he murmured, that went better than expected. His aide, a young officer named Ruiz, swallowed hard as he watched the feeds. Sir, they think we're about to invade the entire council. Holt poured himself a fresh glass of water. Invade? Good heavens, no. That would be rude. Then why wake the Armada now? Ruiz asked carefully. Holt swirled the water, watching the ice clink. Because sometimes, Lieutenant, you don't have to throw a punch to win a fight. You just have to let everyone see you've been wearing brass knuckles the whole time. Outside the window, the Armada held position. Silent. Patient. Deadly. And every alien who gazed upon it understood, with growing dread, that humanity had never been the underdog. They'd just been very, very quiet. The Shadow Gate pulsed like a living wound in the void. It did not open with violence but with silence, a rippling distortion that swallowed the surrounding starlight. Every sensor aboard the alien Armada strained to make sense of the anomaly. None succeeded. Admiral Cairn's voice broke the taut quiet. Report. Not natural, his science officer rasped. It's controlled. Someone, is forcing the fold to respond. The Shadow Gate widened, lines of light bending into impossible geometries. The alien fleets adjusted formations, weapons primed. No one fired. Even predators knew not to strike when something greater stirred. Then, from the depths of the black fissure, a silhouette emerged. Massive. Silent. It carried no transponder code, no registry from any known world. Yet its hull glowed faintly with a mark that every database flagged instantly: Earth. Gasps erupted across command decks. That's impossible. Humanity never had ships like that. They were supposed to be broken, scattered. But the vessel was only the first. One by one, more shapes glided out of the Shadow Gate, each dwarfing the last, hulls forged of metals long theorized but never seen, weapons arrays bristling like the teeth of an apex predator. The void filled with them, an armada too vast, too prepared to be the remnant of a dead world. Admiral Cairn clenched his claws, voice low. Then Earth was never broken. On the lead human vessel, the Eidolon, Captain Mara Vey stood at the observation deck. She was calm, hands folded neatly behind her back, as though this was a mere naval exercise instead of humanity's return from legend. Her tactical officer, Lieutenant Aaron, allowed himself a thin smile. Their sensors can't decide if we're real or phantoms. Look at their formations, hesitant. They don't know whether to advance or retreat. Good, Mara replied softly. Confusion is the sharpest weapon at the start. She turned to the fleet-wide channel, her voice carrying the weight of years hidden behind the veil. This is Captain Mara Vey of the Eidolon. To all who hear, humanity stands once more. You believed us gone, broken, forgotten. You believed wrong. Across alien bridges, her words landed like thunder. Some captains barked for silence, others shouted for immediate retreat. The more arrogant insisted this was a trick, some projection meant to inspire fear. Yet none dared test it. Within the Galactic Council's chamber, chaos spread faster than protocol could contain. Holographic projections of the human fleet hovered above the dais, their scale dwarfing even the combined navies of several member states. Councillor Velm, a scaled dignitary known for his harsh rhetoric, slammed his talons on the table. Shadow engineering! It's impossible! They couldn't have built this without us knowing. Councillor Reese, smaller and feathered, shook his head, eyes fixed on the human insignia glowing on the massive hulls. They didn't build in our sight. They built in the dark. They built where none of us dared to look. Silence spread at that truth. The Shadow Gate, the anomaly that no expedition had ever returned from, had been humanity's shield, their forge. Back on the alien front lines, Admiral Cairn tried to steady his forces. Send a message. Demand their intentions. The transmission was relayed across the void, a formal challenge dressed in protocol. It reached the Eidolon, and Captain Mara listened in silence. What are your intentions? The alien envoy asked, voice trembling though words were stiff. Mara allowed the quiet to linger before answering. Our intention is survival. Our presence is proof of it. But survival, she added, eyes narrowing, has a cost. The envoy faltered. What cost? Mara gestured to her comms officer, and the reply was broadcast not just to the envoy but to every listening fleet. The galaxy thought Earth was ash. You built your empires on that belief. You carved borders, made pacts, raised fleets. But you forgot the first rule of survival: never assume the silence of wolves means their death. Her words slid like knives into the listening hearts. On board the alien dreadnought Threxus, Captain Yaurik broke protocol, slamming his fist against the console. Madness! They mean war. His second-in-command shook her head. No, Captain. They mean choice. Listen to her tone, it is a test, not yet a strike. But patience was already fracturing. One alien destroyer, either from panic or arrogance, fired. A single lance of plasma cut through the void, streaking toward the Eidolon. The human ship didn't dodge. It didn't even raise visible shields. The plasma struck, and vanished into a distortion field that rippled for a moment, then sealed like water. The Eidolon did not so much as flicker. Gasps echoed through alien fleets. On the Eidolon's deck, Mara spoke without raising her voice. Return fire. One rail burst followed, precise, unhurried. The alien destroyer didn't explode in flames, it simply ceased to exist, hull shredded at a molecular level, dispersing into dust. Every alien commander watching knew the truth at once. The humans hadn't attacked with fury. They had demonstrated restraint. One shot. One warning. Admiral Cairn's scales prickled. They could annihilate us, yet they hold back. The thought chilled him more than total war. Mercy from a predator was not kindness, it was a reminder of hierarchy. On the Eidolon, Mara turned to her officers. They'll scatter now. Fear spreads quicker than flame. But some will hold formation, too bound by pride to admit what they've seen. Those are the ones who'll force our hand. Aaron glanced at her. And if they call for reinforcements? Mara's eyes hardened. Then they'll learn why the gate was never truly closed. As if on cue, The Shadow Gate pulsed again, larger this time. More human ships emerged, sleek, ancient, carrying designs that hinted at a science deeper than anything the Council had ever sanctioned. They came in silence, yet their presence roared louder than any weapon. In the Council chamber, panic reached its peak. This cannot be contained. They'll dismantle everything we've built. We must unite against them. Yet even those who shouted it knew, unity against such power was wishful. The humans had not come out weak or desperate. They had come out as architects of the shadows, masters of a frontier the galaxy had abandoned. Mara gave her final order of the day, voice level. Transmit coordinates across every channel. The Council will not come to us, we'll go to them. Let them see the face of what they tried to bury. Her officers obeyed, and as the human fleet shifted course toward the galactic capital, the Shadow Gate behind them pulsed one last time before sealing shut. The void was quiet again. Quiet, but no longer safe. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy understood Earth had not only survived. It had been waiting.